Speaker's advice in understanding why the Foreign Secretary is misleading the House by quoting made-up references to the ministerial code to avoid scrutiny.
In the House of Commons this week, the mask slipped, and it slipped badly. David Lammy got caught red-handed.
The Foreign Secretary evaded providing a coherent response by referring me to 213 of the ministerial code.
Quoting a section of the ministerial code that simply doesn't exist. If you ever needed proof that Lammy is a clown, well, this government's a circus, isn't it?
Order! Order!
Meanwhile, Nigel Farage is back in Parliament doing what Farage does best, calling out the establishment's charade over the Chagos Islands and leaving MPs squirming.
The Conservative government was happy to surrender the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands, but didn't like the final shape of the deal. And then we go on to the government.
It's actually nice to hear Nigel talking sense again. Well done, Nigel. Someone's got to say it. So, what do Lammy's imaginary rules and Farage's brutal honesty have in common? They both show you exactly who's bluffing and who's got a backbone. And if Lammy can't keep his facts straight now, imagine what else they're fabricating behind closed doors. Stick around, watch every second, and don't let them bury this. Hit like, share, Colorado MME End, and subscribe, because you know the Labour lot would rather you didn't.
Mr. Speaker, in the event that Iran does launch a retaliatory military strike against the US, what does the government believe our Article 5 obligations would be with regards to military support for the US, and how will that change if the location of the attack is in the region?
Yeah.
Well, can I refer him to 213 of the Ministerial Code?
Mr. Ben objected.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, during the Middle East statement earlier today, the Foreign Secretary evaded providing a coherent response by referring me to 213 of the Ministerial Code. In the current version of the Ministerial Code, published on the 6th of November 2024, there is no 213 of the Ministerial Code. Chapter 2 finishes at 27. Could I seek the Deputy Speaker's advice in understanding why the Foreign Secretary is misleading the House by quoting made-up references to the Ministerial Code to avoid scrutiny? And should he, as one of the great officers of state, return to this place and clarify why he isn't on top of his brief?
Order! Order! That said, I don't know whether the Honourable Gentleman has given the Foreign Secretary notice of his intended point of order. But I think that is a matter that he will have to raise with the Foreign Secretary himself. The Honourable Gentleman will understand that the Chair cannot answer for ministers, but he has made his point.
Now, just watch and tell me Nigel isn't absolutely spot on with this speech.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I have to say, as an elected representative of a very young political party, I watched this game going on between the two old parties and find it difficult to conclude that it's anything other than a complete and utter charade. Whilst I agree with the Right Honourable Member from Whittam, who made the argument this is British sovereign territory, there is nothing to be gained, literally nothing to be gained by giving it away, and I see the benches behind her cheering, but this was the party that went through, as we heard earlier, 11 rounds of negotiations. The Conservative government was happy to surrender the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands, but didn't like the final shape of the deal. And then we go on to the government, who tell us this has to be done because of legal uncertainty. But of course, there is no legal uncertainty whatsoever. And you know, you can shake your heads if you want, but you know I'm right. The ICJ has no jurisdiction over this whatsoever. So why are we doing it? Well, I guess, of course, post-colonial guilt, a government run by human rights lawyers. Beyond that, I really don't understand it. But you know something? I made a comment earlier about the cost. I promise you, 90 million a year for 99 years with £3, with 3% compounded inflation is £52 billion. That, of course, is madness. And members of this House have been saying, why are we not debating health or other issues? Well, 50 billion quid is a very good reason to debate this. I've tried in this House and elsewhere to make these arguments. I've explained that China already has a smart city right next to Port Louis. I've explained that Huawei are the communications system. You can see now, of course, that Prime Minister Modi is worried on missing out on the action. There is a 200-mile marine park which potentially has cobalt and other mineral resources that could be worth tens, perhaps even hundreds of billions of pounds over the next few years, and we're prepared to give it all away. And the timing of this debate's perfect, because the Prime Minister is mid-Atlantic as we speak. Now, I have spoken in the course of the last week to American cabinet ministers, and whilst they're concerned about Chagos, they're even more concerned about bringing an end to the war in Ukraine, which I think we're all very, very keen to see, provided that it's on the right terms. There is also going to be a big debate about tariffs. So here's the point. Chagos is not especially high on the American agenda at the moment. I would love to see the American administration veto this terrible deal. But I'm not even sure then that this government will move its position. They are clearly hell-bent on giving away the Chagos Islands, whatever the risks to global security, whatever the risks to our own budgetary constraints, and having ignored completely the will of the majority of the Chagosian people. If that's the case, I would rather see America have the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands than a corrupt Mauritius. Why don't we, if we're going to give this up, let's sell. Let's get a few billion quid for the Mauritius Islands, for the Chagos Islands. Mauritius has no legal basis, no legal claim, and you know what? Investment would come. The Chagosians could go back and get well-paid jobs. I want us to keep sovereignty, but if you're prepared to give away this country's interests, sell it to America, don't give it away to corrupt Mauritius.
So don't just sit there, hit like, share this with everyone who needs to see it, drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more. Remember, the truth only stays alive if you keep it moving.